In our age of constant noise, of infinite distractions, and of a relentless pressure to look outward for success, for validation, for the next new thing, a voice from the last century invites us to make the most radical and courageous move of all, to turn inward. This voice belongs to Carl Jung, a pioneer of deep psychology, who left us not a set of rules, but a map for the grandest of all adventures, the journey toward our own soul. Asterisk in the next few minutes, we will not just explore quotes. We will dive into the heart of Jung's philosophy, tracing a path he called the process of individuation, a journey to become who we truly are. As Jung himself said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Our journey begins with an uncomfortable realization. Many of us live our lives wearing a mask. Jung called this mask the persona. It is the version of ourselves that we present to the world, the good professional, the obedient child, the fun friend. The persona is not inherently bad. It is a necessary tool for social navigation. The danger, however, arises when we forget we are wearing a mask. When our identity merges completely with this social role, our true essence begins to suffocate. Ask yourself, who are you when no one is looking? What do you think, feel, and desire away from the eyes of the world? The inner journey begins with the courage to ask this question. But what happens to everything we hide behind the mask? All the frustrations, the instincts, the insecurities, the desires we deem unacceptable? Jung gave this a name, the shadow. Society teaches us to repress our shadow, to pretend it doesn't exist. But Jung warns us, what you resist persists. Trying to annihilate the shadow is a futile and dangerous effort. It does not disappear. It only becomes more powerful in the darkness of our unconscious, projecting itself onto the world in destructive ways. We see in others the flaws we cannot stand in ourselves. We create external enemies so we don't have to face the enemy within. Enlightenment, according to Jung, does not come from imagining figures of light, but from making the darkness conscious. The task is not to eliminate the shadow, but to integrate it. It is to recognize that your anger may contain your strength, that your sadness may contain your depth, that your vulnerability may contain your greatest capacity for connection. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of others. By embracing your shadow, you do not become evil, you become whole. So, how do we begin this dialogue with the hidden parts of ourselves? Jung offers us a precious key, dreams. He saw them not as random brain noise, but as letters the soul sends to itself every night. The unconscious does not speak our direct, logical language. It speaks in symbols, in metaphors, in images. Your dreams are a window into what your soul is trying to process. Pay attention to your dreams. Write them down. Reflect on their symbols. What might that strange house represent? And that unknown figure who appears repeatedly? Do not seek a generic dream dictionary. The answer lies in your own personal association. A dream is an intimate and unique conversation between you and your unconscious. Until you make the unconscious conscious, Jung said, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This work of integrating the shadow and listening to the unconscious leads us to the heart of Jung's map, the process of individuation. Individuation is not individualism. It is not about being selfish or isolating oneself from the world. On the contrary, it is the process of becoming an individual, a whole and indivisible psychological unit, distinct from mass psychology. It is the journey to free yourself from the expectations of your parents, your culture, and society, to discover and live your authentic truth. Jung used to say, the shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits everyone. Your journey is unique. your path will not be the same as anyone else's. Therefore, comparison is the thief of joy and the murderer of authenticity. Measuring your progress by someone else's. Ruler is a recipe for despair. Individuation requires that we abandon the pursuit of perfection. The goal is not to be a perfect human being without flaws or contradictions. The goal is to be a complete, whole human being. And wholeness includes our imperfections, our scars, our contradictions. I'd rather be whole than good, Jung stated, highlighting that socially imposed goodness often requires us to cut off vital parts of ourselves. Do not seek a life of unchanging peace, for the very energy of the psyche is born from the tension of opposites. Light and dark, order and chaos, conscious and unconscious. Life is not about choosing one side and annihilating the other. It is about learning to hold this creative tension within yourself. Like a bow that needs the tension of the string to shoot the arrow, our soul needs this polarity to move forward. It is on this tightrope between opposites that true balance, true wisdom, is found. Within this dance, we find two other central figures that inhabit our unconscious. Every man carries within him an inner image of the feminine, his anima, and every woman carries an inner image of the masculine, her animus. These are not literal representations, but archetypes, energies that shape our perception of the opposite sex and govern our relational life in ways we barely understand. Asterisk, when unrecognized, we project this inner image onto others. We fall in. Love not with the real person, but with our own soul projected onto them, demanding that they carry the burden of our wholeness for us. The task, once again, is retrieval. It is to withdraw this projection from the outer world and enter into a dialogue with this inner energy. For a man, integrating his anima is to access his intuition, his creativity, and his capacity to relate. For a woman, integrating her animus is to access her focused thought, her courage, and her capacity for action in the world. Asterisk, it is precisely through our own wounds that the light enters. We should not be ashamed of our scars, for they are the testimony of our battles. Jung believed in the archetype of the wounded healer, the idea that only one who has known their own pain can truly help heal the pain of others. Your neurosis, your suffering, when understood and integrated, is not a weakness, but the source of your greatest empathy and your greatest gift to the world. The one who has descended into their own personal abyss is the one who can safely guide others to their asterisk on this journey. Our ego, the center of our consciousness, believes it is the master of the castle. It wants to control, organize, and direct everything. But Jung's psychology shows us that the ego is just a small manager in the middle of a vast kingdom. The true center, the true monarch, is the self, the archetype of wholeness, the image of God within us. The goal of individuation is not to inflate the ego, but to place it in its proper position, that of a loyal servant to the self. The ego is not to be destroyed, but to serve something infinitely greater than itself. Asterisk, and it is here, in this place, of greater wholeness, that the concept of love is transformed. It ceases to be a desperate search to fill a void, a projection, or a need. Mature love, the love that blossoms from individuation, is a consequence of inner work. It is a meeting not of two halves that complete each other, but of two wholes that recognize each other. As Jung suggested, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to find and tear down all the barriers you have built within yourself against it. True love is what happens when the soul is finally ready to show itself, without a mask. The journey of the soul, as mapped by Carl Jung, is not a final destination. There is no arrival point where you receive a certificate of individuation. It is a continuous dance, a lifelong process. It is the courage to look in the mirror and not look away. It is the discipline to listen to the whisper of your soul amidst the noise of the world. It is the compassion to embrace your dark parts, and the humility to know there is always more to discover. Asterisk, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Jung reminds us, who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Asterisk, the awakening is not always a happy event. It can be painful, but it is the beginning of an authentic life. It is the moment you stop being a passenger on the boat of fate and take the helm of your own life. The work of your life is not to build an outer empire, but to cultivate the garden of your own soul. And that is, perhaps, the highest form of art a human being can aspire to create.